You should take the class on how to manage that.
Big enough garden to be a farm.
Right, yeah, we've got
I think we got everyone's names.
Yeah.
One,
That's kind of, did you get your math?
8, 9. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Perfect.
What time did you get out of there last night?
Okay, yes. Yep.
Oh, 10:30 something. We closed the polls at 9:37.
Oh.
You know,
okay.
By the time the
a
last
week
person-
later it comes
It was
around.
9:37, and then there was 4
there?
Wow, so each
I
thing
did
has
talk
to
to
be
the
open,
county and
and then
they
you
said
know,
they would
let
review it
go.
without my
And
signature.
then
and
you
give
take
it
the
some-
tally mark.
What?
Yeah.
You must have it.
It's hard to trick the trickster.
Okay, but the thing about it is typically there's only last year's
Are you
31
recording?
voters.
It makes no sense to try to check out.
We were
Everybody
not
is-
prepared.
Yeah,
But
everybody
what's
was
funny,
expecting the
when we
ordinance
worked
to be discussed.
Well, why didn't someone from the floor? I was the moderator, I wasn't about to throw the whole data center thing under the.
Yeah.
Well, also I got talking to by 2 different people, don't bring it up, and I was like, but this is the perfect
Because it comes out
time.
of this pocket and goes
Yeah,
this
there is
pocket. It's
everything
like
in the
saying,
job instead, so I can make some money.
It's a
while I
legal
sell.
way to get it.
No, pretty much.
Alright, it is noon o'clock.
Right by the speaker when
Well, me on a microphone is a dangerous thing anyway, but, let's call this meeting of the Missouri Valley Complex Committee to order. And I believe it is now Marie calling the roll.
Probably just. Okay. Oleko, here, New,
Here.
Martinezson,
Here.
I might pronounce it wrong. Gafurlo?
Correct.
I've been practicing,
It takes a lot of practice.
it takes a lot of practice, been listening to the radio and stuff, trying
It'll
to
take you 10
practice.
years to spell it correctly.
That I didn't do, I copied. Cliffle,
Here?
I didn't practice that. Hilsendigger, here, Peters,
Here,
Hording is me, Olson,
that one's easy.
yeah, I
Here.
guess it's spelled it. Okay, we're all here, you guys.
Wonderful, excellent. Well, thank you for that. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the February 18th, 2026 Missouri Valley Complex Committee minutes. Those were distributed by email. I would entertain a motion for approval or any corrections.
I don't know if this needs to be corrected, but members present, we have Peters listed twice. I don't know if that's important for the record, but that, and then the other thing I thought maybe we should do, even though you referenced it above, you said in the absence of Chair LaCoe, you know, Steve New called meeting to order, but under the members absent, you did not put LaCoe. So then, it took, and then I kind of read a little more, I was like, okay, she didn't just show up. You know, like, people might show up. So I think we should add that you were absent in that absent line for the record.
I agree, in keeping in line with questions that have been brought on other commissions and committees. On those kinds of details, I would agree to do those. With those additions, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I would move that we approve the minutes with those said additions.
I have a motion, a second.
I'll second it.
All right, the minutes have been motioned and seconded for approval with the aforestated changes. All in favor of that, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Minutes for the February 18th, 2026 are approved as amended. At this point, I will entertain any public comment from the attendees in the room. This is limited to county residents and or landowners. Second call for public comment. And a third call for public comment. Seeing no movement, I will close the public comment portion of the meeting. I did not do an approval of the agenda, but before you see the remaining agenda items, are there any changes or additions to the agenda? Seeing none, I will go forward with consent as silent, or silence as consent. And Commissioner Munson, you are the first contestant on the Missouri Valley Complex Committee meeting. Please come on down.
Thank you, Chair. I think you like picking on me, that's why you
You
make me
do,
go
I
first.
thoroughly enjoy it.
I know, I know. If any of you had a chance to watch Monday's commission meeting, the Boone County Commission did approve with one small change, the agreement between the City of Bismarck and Burleigh County to allow the County Planning and Zoning Department to handle the planning and zoning at the complex. I don't see that as being a big concern for the city council on Tuesday of next week. But we are moving ahead, and you will hear from Swenson and Hagan shortly. We already have an appointment with Burley County Planning and Zoning to go through the review of the plat. So we are moving ahead in that world as if it is going to be approved. Verbally from mayor and a couple of the commissioners, it's gonna happen. I may have been a little nasty to get it to that point, but they wanted to work on it for the next year, and I said absolutely not. This is either gonna happen now, or we're gonna have some other issues to deal with. And so we had some real strong confirmation from city political politicians, I should say, that agreed, and this was going to get done. So you'll hear from Swenson and Hagan shortly, and we'll start that whole process there. Update on Missouri Valley Complex contact and oversight. You're looking at them until we get, we are in the process of hiring a part-time individual for the park system. And I think we'll roll some of that over into the complex as well. If you heard the Park District meeting on Monday, I kind of gave a high overview of what I'd like to do is to have the complex and the park board join as one, so that we have a unified group. We've been calling the complex a park as of late. We want to treat it as a park, and so it makes sense to have it then together, you guys together with the Park District. Some of that is also in equipment needed and employees needed, and how we can share those costs and utilize those people back and forth. My backup is the auditor. He raised his hand so quickly and so confidently. But Mark has done a great job helping me out in the last few months, and Thomas as well, getting user agreements out to those people that are needing to use the space. I did get a phone call from Dave Mayer today, and I will have to reach out to Harlow's to ask them to come into the complex in a different direction, because they are driving over Park District asphalt. Since the culvert is out and we're still waiting for the highway department to get that replaced, they are driving over Park District asphalt, and the Park District's a little worried about that getting broken up. And so this afternoon I will reach out to Harlow's and request that they come in off Midwest Drive for the remainder of this year, until we can get that culvert replaced. But I know that I talked to the highway department again on Monday, and it's on their list of projects to get done, so it should be happening pretty soon. With that, I stand for any questions.
Steve?
Well, you mentioned being part of the county park board. How does that structure gonna look? As far as this moves and the makeup of the county park board and all that kind of future stuff?
All things that I'm trying to still work through. I sent state's attorney, a lawyer, a whole list of questions about 3-4 weeks ago. I have not had one of those returned yet, but at the same point, she did have a 10-day vacation in there as well, and a caseload that would mind boggle any of us. And so, as I told her on Monday, I'm patient, but it is a process that we're gonna have to work through. I don't know if I can legally join the two because of how the funding is handled. I don't know if I can legally bring this together as one group, and if that doesn't work, then I have to figure out finances and how we share resources, share employees, that kind of thing. So I don't know yet. The legal side I have to have answered first.
And that kind of answers my question, is whether the decision to have it be a park has been formally made, and so the answer is probably no.
No, it's my thought process, again, because as we've been working on the plat, our whole conversation has always been to treat it like a park. Then it kind of makes sense to join everything together as a park, but again, legally, I don't know because of how some of that funding goes.
Okay.
Because I know in my budget book, they're on two separate groups, you know, when I'm working on the funding side of it. So, I don't know if it can legally be done.
Wayne?
Yes, Mr. Munson, how is this gonna interfere with anything up Buckstop Junction?
Nothing.
Are you gonna be involved with that too, the park district, or what?
Well, and so my long-range thought process is we're all one group now instead of a park district and a complex. You know, we would be one group. And again, that's where I need Julie to kind of help me walk through some of those pieces and parts of how that all would function.
It's starting to look like too many chiefs and not enough Indians.
I feel that already.
Okay. Wouldn't, excuse me, wouldn't the terminology need to be cleaned up? Because I don't think that the county would be a county park district. It's a department under the county commission.
Correct.
And so that, to me, then opens up, it shouldn't make any issue of funding, it becomes a department. And there aren't any separate mill levies or designated mill levies there. So it's a department, not a district.
Yeah, and again, those are the legal questions that I have into Julie, because again, when it appears on two separate sides of the budget, there's questions there that I need to clear.
The meeting between the commissions, that was on, what, March 10th?
Oh, yep,
There was discussion then about the MOU, regarding the city and the county taking over. There was discussion regarding the steps, or to what extent the city would be involved in approving things out there. Can you speak to a little bit of that conversation?
the one word that I've been getting grief over for the last 2 weeks, the word concurrence.
Yep.
It's not I don't like the word, I don't like the term at all. It tells me that whatever county planning decides, we have to have the city sign off on. In working with the highway department, that's the same term and the same process that the city works with us on when there is a development in the ETA. So they go through planning and zoning, do their public hearings, do all of the things. County plan, or city planning and zoning has a recommendation of the city council. And once city council approves it, Burley County has to approve it. So this is going to work exactly opposite. Burley County Planning and Zoning will do all of their things, go to Burley County Planning and Zoning, go to the commission with the final say by the city commission. So it's exactly the same, and the highway department is the one that told me that that's the word they asked for in that agreement, is concurrence. And so the city just used the same terminology for this one.
So I bring that up to make a couple of points. One, as I understood, one of the benefits to move the Missouri Valley Complex under the zoning authority of the county versus the city was that there would be less steps, less oversight, and a faster process.
It'll still be a lot faster process, but again, it'll be the exact same steps that the city has to use for anything that happens in ETA.
And I believe the discussion revolved around maybe a 2-week delay.
2 weeks, yep. Between our meetings and the city meetings is typically, well, in this case, it's 8 days different, you know, from our meeting on last Monday to their meeting next Tuesday. So, yeah, it will be less than 2 weeks.
But I felt that was an important thing for this committee to know. The second thing I wanted to ask about too is the conversation regarding the abandoned sewer line that the city has asked the county to take ownership of.
So it's currently being utilized. It is bringing all of the sewer from the east to the west that comes into that lift station. The new sewer line is to replace it. Once that happens, the intent was to cut it off on the east side, and the county would then use it. And right now, the only thing that's hooked into it is the bathrooms at the oval racetrack. The city wants us to take ownership of that line The county in the motion, removed that portion, because county doesn't have equipment, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have any of that stuff to work on the maintenance of that. So it's in the city council's hand now whether they terminate it, or take ownership of it.
And I believe they all had offered their
The city
infrastructure,
staff offered,
right,
and so now it has to go to the commission to get that finalized. It would, for us, it would be a benefit to have it so that we don't have, if we get that bathroom back up and running in our future plans, there's no new sewer line that has to be run. If we needed to, we would run another 30 feet to the new 42-inch line instead of the 8-inch line, and we would dump in at that point. But it would still be an expense on our part. It'd be best if they just kept it operational. But we'll see where it goes. Like I said, right now it feeds everything from the east over to the west, and once they terminate that piece on the east, it'll just be our bathroom. So there won't really need to be a whole lot of maintenance either. So then the question came at the council, at the commission, do we take it out? Do we abandon it in place, or do we truly take it out so there's no issues long term? And we'll see what the city comes back with on that one.
we can keep you up there a little bit longer.
You're fine.
I was not at our last Missouri Valley Complex Committee meeting, and there had been quite a bit of movement regarding the Missouri Valley Complex at the commission table prior to that. I was not able to speak to that at the time, so I want to take that opportunity now. I listened to two different discussions around the commission table regarding a request that first came from Commissioner Bakken, and then you were able to follow up on that request for access to the highway department's meeting room. And I bring that up just because I want to try and explain it maybe in a different manner than what it was understood at the time. It was understood that my understanding was that your request was to bring forward access to a room that fostered collaborative discussion. And this committee discussed that this room in particular does not foster collaboration. It is a meeting room, and the next step of that identified the highway department meeting because not only is it a really nice room, but it provides access to the technology. And then the added benefit of those maps, that yes, we can get maps at any point and anywhere, but I think it's really important to know and to have again on record the thought process and the steps by which we approached that request. That it is important for us as a committee, almost acting like any developer would be doing, to meet with the appropriate city at that time or county staff now to make sure that as we go forward with the plat and the development, that we avoid any problem areas, that we avoid any unnecessary costs. And I'm not sure that that message landed during those commission discussions, but since I couldn't speak then, I wanted to take the opportunity that I have here now to make that statement.
Well, and even from my point of view, having the meeting there allowed county staff easy access to that room so that as we had those questions, they would be available. Now, what will happen is we will have that meeting off-site, and they will have to travel to us.
And that is completely fine, because the goal here
Right.
is for
The
this group
collaboration,
this group needs to be able to move ahead, this memorandum of understanding with
Yep.
the city. We then need to finalize that plat,
Yep.
and then this group needs to get together to have a visioning or a development planning session. Those are the 1, 2, 3 steps, and however those happen and wherever those happen is a moot point.
Right.
It is just, that is the process by which we're going forward, absence of any other direction from the commission.
And county staff has definitely stepped in and said, you let me know where the meeting is, we'll be there.
Great.
They want to be part of it. And I plan very specifically to have, maybe it'll be Amanda.
I'm not weighing in on that one.
In the next 2 days, I was offered at least 20 different boardrooms. And it will be off-site, specifically because I want to prove a point. We were trying to allow your staff to be part of this process by having it in your conference room. You chose not to. And so, like I said, it might be in Mandan. But we will have county staff travel to that meeting. It's what he wants.
Well, as long as we can keep moving this forward, that's
Oh,
all,
I-
that's the important part, but I did wanna take that
The
opportunity and I agree.
conversations with county staff, they're very excited about this process and about being part of the solution for it. So I have every reason to believe that it will be well attended for the people that need to be there,
Great.
so.
Well, and I appreciate your hard work on this and many other things on our behalf.
Ability to keep my mouth shut when I need to.
So I have a question, because at that, the 17th meeting, whatever, in February, it was one of those two, it was referenced that these maps exist because at the city. So, you know, I've attended, in the olden days, oh my gosh, what's it called, the MPO people, you know, they have the TAC and all that. So, at that building on 26th, you know, they have cool TVs, maps, apparently these maps might exist. I would see, would the city of Bismarck let us use that room that we use for those meetings? Cause maybe the maps are in a drawer and it'd be easy to get.
Yeah, the maps are available at the county office.
But if you're going off-site, like they have
Right.
cool TVs,
Yep.
they might have them, you know, we could Wi-Fi in and pull their maps off their thing and who knows? So that might actually be a really cool facility to have it at and maybe they have interactive maps and they put them on the screen.
I have no doubt that they
Yeah.
would be very happy to host us.
That would be a fabulous, space.
Yeah, you know, we just need to have the ability to collaborate, have the conversation, and know what to avoid so we don't create problems down the road.
That changes every month.
Steve?
Chair, you mentioned 3 points. Is there a 4th point that we need to also be, part of the timing is with this park board discussion and operations as far as the development and conceptual development of the facility out there?
Timing is, and again, everything in government moves way too slow in my opinion, but timing is to me the key. I would really, because in my vision, you know, we have this part-time person coming on to help with the park side of it. What I mentioned on Monday is a full-time position as a park manager, being able to be part of the Swenson and Hagan conversations so that it may alleviate some of my time there as I'm working with Houston Engineering and working, and I'll go back to Dave and Kevin, you know, a lot of the meetings they were involved with on behalf of the Burley County Park District. That was a heavy lift. And we now need to put someone in place to do that as well, because these meetings for the repair of our ramp, they're coming every week. And there's a lot of information there that needs to be digested and sent back out and being part of that solution today, not tonight when I get to my computer or the weekend when I get to work on county business. And so, yeah, part of that envision is having, you know, I see once we continue to grow at the complex, I see that department to be 3 or 4 people, minimum. We would have a full-time maintenance person just at the complex, I think, by the time when we get to that point.
Not to mention equipment.
Right. And so as we start looking at developing 27, 28, 29 budgets, those are all pieces that have to be brought into play as well. I bought a pickup on Monday night to help out the park staff. I don't have access to the budget that was approved. for the complex or any of the parks. I've asked for it 5 times now. And so I gotta figure out how to pay for that, but I don't have access to the actual approved. I have my preliminary, which is fine. I mean, I know I have the money to do it, but to actually have access to the approved budget, I'm still working on that part of it, you know, so there's so many pieces here that that manager, would be able to spend the time to make sure all these questions are answered.
What was our budget, and this might be getting off topic, but if you're talking about bringing the Missouri Valley Complex in the park district or department, as it may be, what was our county commitment to Bismarck Parks for the same services that you're looking at offering on the county side?
In 25, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, 125?
I don't think that the county's paid us over $90,000
Okay.
a year. I think the budget was that,
Budget was okay.
but it was always under budget.
If you listen to the Tribune, it had 3 zeros, but,
But I'm sure that was redacted on page 6.
it never was.
Never did get
It never
corrected.
was, no. But, yeah, the budget was 125, you know.
So the county's essentially looking at, we're saving the 125 to add potentially up to 3 to 5 FTEs plus equipment.
Correct.
Okay.
Smart move.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, got another question for Mr. Munson here. Now, I've waited 40 years for the county commission to step up to their plate and say, what can we do to help? Is this one chance now they're finally gonna step up to the plate and help out?
3 commissioners for sure.
3?
Yep.
Who should I work on?
I don't think I have to answer that question.
So I think for your own benefit, you need to clarify the statement that you don't have access to the budget.
Well, let me say that, I've requested it 5 times.
Are you talking about the document budget?
Physical document of what was approved that last night of budget. Because my preliminary budget was cut in certain places.
Yeah,
The county has not, the treasurer's office, the finance department has not been able to get me that document of what was actually approved. The synopsis, or the summary, the 3-page summary is on the website,
okay.
not the detail of each
The line items.
line item.
Okay, so I think this is a bigger deal than you're making
Oh,
it out to be.
I know it is a bigger deal.
So you're saying that a sitting county commissioner cannot get the final budget from county staff at this point?
Again, I've requested it 5 times, I've not received it yet.
Well, that goes along in lines with 2 votes against allowing a seated county commissioner to carry out the duties of his portfolio at a recent meeting.
Yep.
So so my guess would be if I open records in, I also wouldn't get it, or maybe?
So.
Am I more light? Because I'm unknowing?
In my approach to the way things are, I've asked the correct staff for that document. On Monday night, I put the request into the commissioner that holds that portfolio. I'm not trying to blow it up, I'm not trying to go out public, I'm not trying to make this, I'm operating fine, but for me to budget buying a $9,000 pickup, I need to be able to give staff, okay, we need to take this much out of this, each one of these budgets for the next 8 months, and then, but I don't even have that document so that I can go back to staff and say, this is how we're gonna pay for it.
So the follow-up is, do you know that the document exists?
I don't. I can assume it does, because we have to have that document somewhere. It was approved during the budget cycle.
And the county hasn't appointed a finance director yet, correct?
Intern finance director?
Yeah.
Taylor is intern.
And then you guys
Yeah.
hired an accounting firm to be part of that, and then you have your old guy coming back.
Which the contract was just signed on
Yeah.
Monday, so they'll be in the
This
next.
accounting firm may be able to find it. Cause I mean, like, part of it is you have the issue,
There's
it's
so
the
many
issue
levels
of
of,
too many people quitting.
there's so many levels of absurdity going on in the county right now, and this is like the cherry on top, as far as I'm
It's-
concerned.
Correct. I mean, to me, the first request should have been a matter of an email sending that document over. It exists somewhere within the finance director's office. Now, I'll be very honest, I haven't asked the auditor for it, because it should be in the finance department.
Right.
But I can also ask the auditor today and see if he can help me out.
that.
I think the auditor might want to get on the record as far as what his view of this situation is for his own benefit.
He hasn't been prepared for this, so I don't know if it's fair.
Oh, I have something to say.
Can you can't even pull up a preliminary budget that's not part of an agenda packet, correct? You are completely locked out of anything
The-
financial.
If
On
the
the
auditor would like to speak on it, because we have included the auditor in several
Yep.
discussions around this table regarding our fund balance, so on and so
Yep.
forth, I would absolutely give the auditor the floor should
If
you
you
wish.
go to the website, you'll see the 26 approved budget, but it is a 3-page synopsis.
Levies,
It's the levy.
Yeah.
that's all it is,
It's,
the levies.
it's,
That's not a budget.
if you go to 25, you have the complete budget there, which is what I'm looking for.
Auditor Sponskowski?
I'll let you have the podium, man.
Yes, Chair and the committee members, I was not aware of this issue. I'm looking on any information that I have available to me. I have been, the normal drive that we would have that on is the TD drive. I've been denied access to that ever since the official changeover happened. I have, like Commissioner Munson mentioned, I have the preliminary budget numbers, but from that moment that it was turned over from me over to the the separated treasurer's office, I have had no even ability to see those numbers. I'm seeing what I can find. The fact that that's not out there is very troublesome to me, that it's not available, and especially that a commissioner should never have this type of issues trying to find these numbers. That should be something readily available and responded to very quickly. So that's very concerning to me.
Well, I appreciate that background, because like I referenced earlier, we've now gone down a rabbit hole, but we can all see how all of this does connect together. And I, as even chair as this committee, have gone to you to request financial information regarding our funds, so on and so forth. So it helps me to know that I need to go a different route should those questions come up in the future, and that we have slightly larger issues at hand. So I do appreciate that background.
Yeah, absolutely.
This
Yeah,
also, Madam Chair, this also reverses the thinking that I was going on in our conversation prior to the meeting, so let's just nix that whole discussion.
So there's quite a bit of moving pieces. I want to recap that conversation before we ask Jason to come back up. Again, I kind of opened that whole storyboard there by trying to get to the point that I believe that this committee needs to focus on 3 priorities in the very immediate future. And some of those, most of those are outside of our control, but we need to have a voice in the conversation. First and foremost, getting that MOU finalized and signed with the city of Bismarck so that we know who's in control of what the approval process is for any developments out at the complex, as well as what are we doing with that sewer line. That sewer line to me is a sticking point, and I want to be very clear, or we be very clear on what that expectation is. That's the first step, is the MOU. Simultaneously, but really in a timeline, the second piece is the plat. While there are benefits to have being moved under the control or under the oversight, jurisdictional oversight of Burleigh County for planning and zoning respects, it did prolong that process because our engineers had been moving forward with doing that plat since working with the city. And I might be out of turn here, Jason, correct me when you get up here if I'm wrong, but that cost us a couple of months, if not more, because things changed when we went under the county. So the second part is getting that plat done. The third part then, and that is a simultaneous conversation, is once that is done, our group needs to meet with the aforementioned city or county planning, highway department, and other important pieces there to identify areas to avoid, areas that we can build, areas that we can develop. And from there, we go forward on a developmental plan. Until those pieces are in place and we have guidance from the commission on what their vision and desires are, we're kind of stuck. And while I am confident in saying that we've made really, really good progress, we've gotten further than a lot of other groups trying to do things out at the Missouri Valley Complex, we are definitely hamstringed on a few things, and we need to move those forward. And again, for that, your work on that liaison, Commissioner Munson, I do appreciate that. But those are those three things: the MOU, the plat, and the development plan.
Yes, I got something to add to that, on that sewer line out there. I started this last fall to find out where that line was actually gonna go. And here they went and they're putting the last part of it in right now. I think they're going right through the racetrack. And I tried to get them the last week or two to get them to move that line 20 feet or 30 feet to the north. So it bypasses all those electrical wires. But they said they're gonna tear it all up. And they're gonna ruin that track, because that dirt track, if that gets put back into shape again, we don't want that good dirt underneath the ground. And we don't want no rocks on top of it either. I told them that. But I went through one ear thinking out the other. So I tried my darndest to try to get them to move that line. But they just more or less laughed at me. And I told them what I thought of them. So left it at that point. So I don't know. I found out it was Apex Engineering Company. I had a hard time finding that, but I did find it. And I talked to the engineer, but he said, nope, it's drawn out. I said, all you gotta do is move it 20 feet, and you bypass all that stuff. They wouldn't do it. They decided to go right through the track. Now they're gonna have a big mess out there. And they're gonna have, like Mr. Munson said, they're gonna come back and fix it. Well, I won't believe that until I see it. Right?
I agree with you. We were very adamant, in fact, Dave Mayer was very instrumental in that process back then, making sure that they understood that that track and the composition of that track had to be put back at exactly the same. And we were guaranteed by the city and by the engineers that it would be put back exactly. And when you brought up the electrical lines, I went back to the engineers to make sure they
Yeah.
understood that they were there.
I know they're there, because I
Yep.
put them in.
They didn't know they were there until you mentioned it.
Yeah.
But they will have to replace those lines. And,
Let's hope they do.
well,
And when it dries off, I'm going out there to walk around there once and see if they did.
if not, the city will be required to put it back.
Good. If I see anything out of line, I'll give you a call.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
And one point in there too to consider is and I'm sure Swenson and Hagelin will touch on this too, but it's the wetland mitigation, stuff too. So there's a lot of moving pieces on that. Like how I ushered in that transition, come on down.
Madam Chair, I got
Yep.
two quick questions for Commissioner Munson. Your discussions with the park board changes, I mean, to me, a fourth step in this is the operations and development financing plan that should be brought forward from this group as well. The recommendations on the operating and financing plans. And then, the second question is, watching the meeting Monday night and the discussions on the off-road vehicles and the trails that used to be out at the fairgrounds at one time, is that gonna be part of this conversation again?
I'm glad you brought that up. I was gonna mention it when I was at the podium. I did go back, Google Earth, 12 or 13 years. And there was a very well-established trail out there. And so, after this sewer line gets done, I wanna be able to go back out there with North Dakota Parks and Rec and look at that trail, and see if it is a viable piece. And then with that information, I would come back to this group to ask for a recommendation, whether it is something that we should move forward with or leave it alone.
Where was it?
It literally was all around the oval track, and it went from, the motocross track about halfway to the, rodeo grounds. And it zigzagged, and I guarantee you some of it's in the wetlands, and I don't know That would be a Swenson Hagen question, if that is something if it can be done. But again, I wanna get through the construction of this sewer line first, and then because the folks at North Dakota Parks and Rec were part of the construction of it. And so I wanna be able to get them on site, take a look at it and evaluate, if that is still something that we could legally do in some of the areas. Because if it goes in the wetlands, I don't know, that would be a Jason and Landon question as well.
Now you go.
Chair LaCoe, fellow committee members, thank you for having me up in front of you today. So, a lot of moving parts lately. Just to go back, last year we did put together a plat that would have met city standards. Also had a zoning request to rezone the property. That zoning is complete. The plat was not finalized. It was put on a temporary hold to work through some of the issues that were being developed and answered at that time. There was some things with the city about what that was gonna look like as far as road networks, and we were getting some delineation for wetlands on the property, and then things kind of came to a halt where the discussion about this moving over to today's status. So kind of vamping everything and getting a game plan together with where we're at and what we know today. We've got an application that we're getting signatures for so that we can put a county standard plat together to be ran in front of the county planning department. That will be submitted. That application is due tomorrow at 5 o'clock, or by 5. And so felt trying to get that in now to take advantage of this month to get it into the cycle. Some other things that'll happen here is we would like to bring tomorrow at 11 o'clock, we're gonna have a staff meeting with planning department and then also highway department to walk through a pre-plat meeting with them. And so if something develops where they think that's premature, just have that submittal go in at 5, we'll pull that. But that is the plan currently right now to start moving that process. So in essence, a little bit of difference between two lines of thought with the two different plats. The city plat, of course, had a public dedication of right-of-way, and we're looking with a county dedicated plat that we can pull those right-of-ways off, go back off of that park concept that we're talking about now, where we have interior road networks, interior maintained facilities, and trying to just kind of put some of those things on your plate as how you want those to be developed, and as long as planning and highway development and everybody that's going to be part of that maintenance, that vision network is all on the same page, then we get to move that process forward. A couple points maybe just to throw out here. Is it good to have the decisions and how you want to go in your own hands, so to speak? Yes. There still will be some things that city will have some interjection into, and there's some things that we would ask the city for. For instance, water, city water supply. So there would be some conversations and how that gets put together as the plat develops. As you guys have had some previous conversation just a little bit ago, there is a sanitary sewer line that's being constructed through the project. And so there would be a connection into that in maybe a few locations. And so some of the things that maybe have to be worked through yet, and just some of the thoughts that I have are, if we have now a complex, a park, one body, somewhere along that line we make a connection to the city's main, and we drag a main up to serve all the various components, actually within the campus and any of the potential things that could develop down the road. So that could be actually viewed as a private line. So there would be some things that can be county maintained, and not necessarily that possibly county staff even has to be able to maintain them, but periodically there may be some jetting and things like that. So it's not that it's overburdensome to have some of your own infrastructure, but from a infrastructure standpoint, those are a couple of the connectivity things that the city would be involved in with some comments and how that actually works, okay? As far as interior road networks, in some of the last conversations that we had after the wetlands were delineated was these impacts. And so we're talking possibly about, 2 to 5 or 6 acres worth of impact, and if you were to go in and get a Corps permit, does the Corps like that? Do they come back and say absolutely not? You're gonna have to buy mitigation credits through the state bank program, which Ducks is a provider in the state of North Dakota for that. And then what ratio do you get them at? Does that become a 1-to-1 ratio, a 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1? So that's a thing that was something that kind of had some tentacles to it, right? So moving to a county plat and maybe utilizing a different type of road networks where after, I don't want to speak prematurely, but let's just say, for instance, that we're moving down the road where we have a rural type network with ditches and things like that. Well, we could actually utilize some of the footprints in the locations where some of the roads are today. And so that footprint looks much different than a dedicated right-of-way where we're pushed out farther and have impacts. So that process, those conversations need to be gone through as we get through the first stages of this plat. So some of the items that I wrote down, the MOU, the plat, some meetings with planning and highway department, and then of course some of the conversations about a development plan, right? So some of those could be and should be happening concurrently as this plat starts to work its way from staff to commissions. Because we want to make sure that some of the fundamentals that we're gonna go off of are the direction that the plat's gonna support that, okay? So, yes?
Yes, I'm with Buckstop Junction out there, so is Missy here. And Monday night at our monthly meeting, we approved to go ahead and see if we can have a fundraiser, put up a exhibit hall out there, because we got a lot of old antique stuff out there. We want to get inside some vehicles and stuff. Then we want to put that on the grounds. So keep in mind that we want to have a spot for that out there. And we want to have it open year round if we can.
Yeah.
And restrooms in it.
And that's a good point, is some of these infrastructure needs and some of these site needs, right?
Yeah.
And so what we want to be looking at right away is what type of infrastructure needs need to happen to support all the site-related needs. And so trying to put together some thoughtfulness for how our infrastructure corridors are going to complement the development of the facility. And then bringing in, of course, staff to actually say, this is how we think we agree to this, or here's some other things we want to look at and things like that. So,
because we are part of the county and we're preserving the history around the community. That's why we're getting stuff donated all the time, and we're kind of running out of room, so.
yeah, and I would anticipate through this process that kind of some of those first developmental concepts that were drawn up, I would say we're gonna be updating those globally from a high level, and that helps to support kind of this vision of what we need to have for infrastructure.
Thank you.
So, plating, unfortunately, is gonna go back and start over. It'll run its typical county process, but this will be the submittal part of starting that process. So with that, if there's questions, I can try to answer them.
Your estimated timeframe for the plat?
I need to look at a schedule and I can get a schedule put together. One of the things that I think is gonna maybe complicate it that I heard is maybe there's some delays for bringing the city pieces in to get concurrence. Need to find out a little more about how this concurrence piece is gonna work out. And so, there's always some advertising things that go into place. Sometimes we get delayed 2 weeks or a month because we have overlapping and we don't get the advertisements that have to be done for public hearings, so I can get back to you on that.
Now, the signatures that you're gathering for the plat, is that,
For the application.
yeah, for the application, is that the 60% of adjacent landowners, or what is the,
It's just the application to submit a plat.
okay, cause I'm like,
Oh,
well, there shouldn't be like, yeah, okay. Couple of treetops from conversations that we've had, on deeper conversations, can you speak to, unless you did when I stepped out to deal with my cough, the road that goes from, you know, that was originally going to be planned as like a curb and gutter, kind of a main thoroughfare, can you talk to the positive aspect of that being underneath the county control now versus, what we were originally possibly looking at?
Well, you do have some roadway networks currently within the complex that are, maintained internally. And so this would be an extension of that concept. And so instead of having a publicly dedicated right-of-way in which you're asking the city to construct and to maintain for you, the complex, the park, right, that concept can be internal road networks, it can be county maintained, it can be also to what the county highway department looks at being comfortable with maintaining. And so part of the conversation we want to have is what requirements are going to come to play in regards to stormwater as well. And so with the city's concept of the urban section, curb and gutter, we most certainly would have had some sort of storm sewer running through the facility because of the criteria that the city has for picking up and only inundating so much of the street section during certain rain events. Well, if we've got, for instance, a rural section with a ditch, then a lot of that conveyance can be controlled in that manner. So it does make some efficiencies for sure.
I did want to make sure to give credit where credit was due, so. Any other questions for Swanson and Ryan? Appreciate your work on it, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
So the next item on the agenda, that's the next meeting, right? Yeah,
Yep.
we checked off all the other things.
Review number 7.
Pardon?
Number 7?
Oh, we didn't receive that.
Oh, okay, we're skipping it. Okay, didn't know that.
I might have an old one here on my thing. So the last item on the agenda is the next meeting we currently have set for Wednesday, April 15th, 2026. And full disclosure and transparency, I had initially thought that maybe we were approaching a point where we could postpone meetings on, because I am not a fan of meeting without business to conduct. However, after the discussion earlier and all of the moving pieces, I think it's important for this group to continue to at least touch base for sure in a month and until we know that that plat is done. So I have no suggestions or changes, but I would definitely take any further discussion on any of the items or other business before we would adjourn.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
since Buckstop is looking at adding another building to their facility, I think this is the place where we have that first conversation of what their thoughts are of size and location, so that as we are planning, again, for future, it's a piece that we can take to Swenson Hagen and say, okay, this is their wish, this is their thought process. So I think that would be a good next step for our next meeting as well, is have a presentation from Buckstop.
I think that's a valid point. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of planning so that we can get out as far ahead of things as possible. So I would definitely be in favor of that if you guys are in a position to do that April 15th.
I have a question. It goes back to like last summer. Commissioner Munson, there was a request from some entity to do something with electrical out there, and you had said you were looking, whatever. Do you know if the electrical was improved at the rodeo grounds? That's what I'm gonna call that section.
We did not approve it last year. If I remember correctly, we were looking at a $3,000-4,000 cost.
I thought the group said they might have done it, and that's why I didn't know if it never circled back, because they did it.
If
You
they
don't
did,
know.
I wasn't notified, and it's certainly nothing, it's not something Parks and Rec and I talked about.
They weren't notified, okay.
No.
Not fixed then.
I didn't really want to push it, because depending on how fast the rest of this moves, I want to spend $3,000-4,000 down there and have it all removed in 2 years.
Dustin?
I too, prior to this meeting, was thinking that we could reduce the number of meetings that we're having, but I think now, after today's revelations, that this needs to be a public venue so that this committee can expose, in as far as what we're dealing with, what's going on at the county, because I think it's a microcosm of everything. And I mean, if you've got a commissioner that can't get a budget, a final detailed budget, as well as an auditor, I mean, it applies to us and our difficulties in dealing with the commission, but it also is showing, okay, what else is going on? And so being able to provide even just a platform for updates on those things, I think is useful.
Just any other discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
one other item is, so, we're only 2-3 months away from the budget hearing as well. So your next meeting, we should have discussions on 27 budget and items that we need to talk about in that budget itself.
Agreed?
So on that note, can you do an estimate to do an electronic sign out where Buck Stop sign is to benefit everybody that is in that complex?
I can take care of that on 2 different levels.
That is one of the, I think that is the most important thing right now.
Yep.
Is advertising, because
Is Jason still here?
nothing,
The pillar gets in my way. Because that was identified as wetlands as well.
Yep.
In that delineation, I need to have approval from the Corps to put up a sign out there
but technically there is already a sign out there.
that doesn't have a permit. I checked.
It's been there for years.
I know, long before sign permits were needed, you
Yeah.
know? But because that's a dedicated wetland, that brings up a whole nother problem. But I mean, I certainly can do the work up front, but we were gonna wanna get ahold of Jason and find out the legalities of even putting it out there.
Oh, along with your sign thing, because we had a discussion at a particular 4-H committee that I serve on that has funds about purchasing a sign, and I was like, no, we can't just buy a sign, people. It's not that easy out there. The one thing maybe I'd ask the rest of the groups, Buck Stop included, years ago, so Kathleen Jones' time, the sign was like 100, what we wanted, 4-H wanted was 120,000, so I imagine it's more than that. One thing I would think of is like sharing the cost of the sign, all of us sitting around, well, I don't expect the public, like Wayne, you can open your checkbook, Wayne, and pay if you want. But you know what I mean? Like, instead of it having to come necessarily from the Missouri complex, it could be something where if you got us an estimate, we could go, oh, well, 4-H could kick in 20, and they kick in 20, and now we got a sign. Well, I mean, if we can put it somewhere, that I guess is maybe the bigger hurdle, but it doesn't necessarily have to come from our fund.
Which is
You know what I
important
mean?
distinction between whether you're a stakeholder or just a renter. Stakeholders invest back into the facility.
Yeah, and like, we were gonna put our name on the sign, they were gonna buy, and I was like, we're not buying a sign.
So back when Kathleen was requesting that, I did all those
You did
bids
it,
for
I
her.
figured.
And we did give options from about 35 all the way up to 120, because the sign that's there is not big enough to really be read. And so to replace that, just that digital board, and again, this was 6 years ago, yeah, it was a lot less expensive to replace the same size, but we got up to 120,000 when we were utilizing the maximum space that we could on that structure to give you a sign that could be read from Expressway and from Highway 10. So there are options, but that's why it got to be that expensive.
So now with the 125 or 129,000, would that be one of the higher billboards where it would be visible? It wouldn't be.
No, it's taking that existing brick structure that's out there with the digital board on now, taking that old digital board off and putting a new one on it. But again, I gave her different options for height so that we could have a message that could be read from a further distance away.
So would it be feasible to put one of the higher digital boards in place of that one?
You will need $250,000 or more.
I need to go into the sign business.
Just a couple of comments as far as digital signage and the city. So the city does have some jurisdiction. Not only that, typically, we look at who has some jurisdiction or rights to certain road networks. So potentially if the city got funds for Centennial or Expressway, there could be some other requirements that come to play. So if we're looking at state highway systems or interstate systems, there's actually some things that go on how you can or cannot put that signage together. There are some wetlands in the corner further to the south towards the hill. You get out of those wetlands, but another thing that kind of gets maybe a little different too is if we're talking ground signs and aerial signs. So a billboard has some different requirements. There's some easements that come along through their overhead, come along that west side of the property. So I'm not saying that some of this can't be done. It's probably going to involve a couple different groups of people and possibly a city permit.
Which underscores the need to get the right people in a room for identifying what we can and can't do before we move forward. Good discussion, anybody else?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
According to the MOU that we were working on, that Burleigh County approved on Monday, Burleigh County would retain the right to issue signed permits.
Okay.
The city would retain the right on a billboard. Now, when we talk billboard is an off-premise advertising, so if that billboard was there, you couldn't be on it. So that's the wrong terminology, but we could put a pole sign up, a taller sign with a bigger sign on it. And this is gonna get tricky. So Burleigh County doesn't have ordinances for signage. The city does. And so the city maximum size of height and video board or digital board on that property, your maximum is gonna be 100 square feet and your maximum height is going to be 40, which won't be a problem height-wise, but 100 square feet at that height is too big. So there are some other things that we can look at there on the sign side, but when we have the concurrence issue, I would guess we're gonna be held to that 100 square feet along Expressway or Highway 10, either one. Sorry, I know too much weird stuff.
Any other discussion?
Yes, this is off topic, but back onto the budget topic. How do you, as a portfolio holder, how do you, for your portfolios, develop your next budget if you don't have access to the previous budget?
That's why it's on next month's meeting.
All right, any other for the good of the order? Seeing none and hearing no objections, I would move to adjourn, and we will be back here Wednesday, April 15th, 12 noon, same place, same time. Thank you all.
Leslie, you don't have to stir that.